Hey, this is Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. And it's another day. It's another day where, I talk with you about important topics. Topics that will drive you and, keep you going, inspire you, empower you. And today, this episode is no different from the others. I want you to understand what's going on around the world and how what's happening can help you to survive, help you to be encouraged. And my guest today, he actually lose his brother because of some sort of addiction. Perhaps not addiction, let me not say that, but he had actually dosed, right, with some drugs. He was an athlete, and condolence to my guest. Understand losing someone, and my guest is passionate about persons making the right decisions, especially youth. He works with youth, and he believes that youth need to make the right decision in order to zoom into what they want out of life, right? And the only way for you and I as well, not only youth, right? For you and I to zoom into what you want for your life is to make the right decisions. My guest is going to help us with that, and I'm going to let him into the studio. Eric, what's up, man?
Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Yeah, I'm here on Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canute White. Eric, what I want to find out first, who is Eric? I believe you pronounce your word, your name, right? This word, Daddario.
Wow, you got it. Not a whole lot of people get that right.
I'm
Spot
getting better
on.
with names. I'm getting better with names, Eric. Okay, who is Eric?
Well, Eric's he's a person of change. He's a person of hope. He's a person who just wants to help the youth make, as you said in that introduction, better life decisions. But not only youth, everybody. But I really hone in on talking to the youth about making better life decisions when they're going through those stressful, those struggling, those tough moments that, let's get real, everybody goes through, right? Those tough times that life just throws at us. Really helping them to have the tools to be able to navigate and get through those tough times in a healthy way instead of making unhealthy decisions.
Yeah, great. But you were like all of us, a child at one point, and what I want to find out from you, your childhood at age 5, 7, 10.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So, growing up, I really loved hockey. I was a big athlete. So I really loved to play hockey. I have 3 other brothers who all played sports. Most of them played hockey. I had both of my parents in my life, loving, caring parents. They just wanted to see me and my brothers succeed. They would do anything. And when I say anything, like I mean anything to see us succeed. They just loved us so much. And they just wanted us to be successful in whatever it is we did or wanted to do. And I hung around with my brothers a lot. We were, all 3 of us, we were a very tight-knit group of brothers. And, me and my younger brother, Brendan, we hung around a lot. And growing up when I was in the 8th grade, I talked about everybody goes through difficult times in life because, that's just a part of life. And you can't run from these things. You can't hide from them. You can't avoid them. Everybody goes through them, whether they're physical, whether they're mental, whatever it is. Everybody goes through tough times. So a tough time for me when I was in the 8th grade, I was playing with my friends in the woods, and my brother was there too because we grew up together. We were really good friends, and somebody threw a stick in my direction when we were in the woods, and that stick went directly in my eye. Wow. And I yanked that stick out, and as soon as I yanked the stick out, blood just stopped pouring down my face, down my body. And I pass out and I wake up to in an ambulance.
Yeah.
And there's EMTs in the ambulance. And I look at one of them and I say, "Where are you taking me?" And he goes, "Everything's going to be fine. We're taking you to the hospital." Well, come to find out, that stick sliced my eye in half. And
Wow.
that night they had to perform a 6-hour surgery on my eye to save it. And I was in the hospital for a few days. And after those few days, I left, went back home, and I never forget just beating myself down because
Yeah.
of what I had gone through, how I looked.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, I don't want anybody to see me. I don't want and I don't want to see anybody because I don't want to get made fun of. I hate how I look. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I was able to get through that tough moment on what we're going to talk about today. And that is, I asked for help.
Okay.
I didn't make an unhealthy choice like my younger brother, Brendan, to drink, to smoke, to use drugs. I made that tough choice to ask for help. And that is what helped me get through that tough moment. And going forward in life, I would have other tough moments. I was in special education.
Okay.
That was really hard. I got made fun of. So I went through a lot of tough moments in my life, but I had a support system of my family, and I made healthy choices to get through those moments. So that's a big reason why I'm still here today, why I'm able to talk with you today. So that's,
Yeah, I love that. And that shows us that no matter what you go through in life, you're able to overcome. And we are going to talk some more about that as it relates to or you help youth and trying to get help, asking for help is another thing that we will talk about as it relates to how these youth can ask for help, as they go by. But what sort of struggles though these youth would go through in life? The sort of struggles that you would go through today in today's world. What are some of those struggles?
So my eye, as I said, right, I went through that. From another big struggle for me was, as I had mentioned, I was in special education. I really struggled in school to read, to write. I was a really slow learner, and I got made fun of a lot for that, a lot.
Yeah.
And I used hockey. As I said, I was a big hockey player. I used hockey as my escape. I didn't use drugs. I didn't drink. I used something that was healthy to escape what I was going through.
Right. And these youths today, Eric, these youths today in the United States where we are, I'm in Florida, right, as well, in the United States, and in Jamaica where I'm from, and other places around the world, many youths are going through struggles. They're struggling. What are these struggles? What are they going through? What are you seeing?
Yeah, the biggest things I'm seeing, the two biggest things are anxiety and depression. Whenever I go and I talk at a school, whenever I go and I talk at an organization or I talk to an athletic team, I will talk with the coach, I will talk with the administrator, whoever it is, my contact. And the first thing I say is, what do you see your players, your youth, your students struggling with the most? And without fail, without hesitation, they say anxiety, depression. Those are the two biggest things that I hear constantly about what kids are going through nowadays.
Yeah. As you say that, do you go to the homes, or is it a sort of a composite intervention where you go to the homes as well? You select youth from those schools that you went to and say, okay, John Brown, looks like I need to visit the home and see how I can further help outside of the school situation or the community.
No, I don't do that, but I don't go to their homes. But what I do is I stick around after I talk, and I have a lot of kids come up to me after, and they will open up about what they're going through, about what they've been through. And they'll talk to me about depression, anxiety, maybe they're self-harming or something that's going on in their life. Because when I talk to students, when I talk to athletes or youth in an organization, I'm just completely vulnerable. I'm honest with what I've been through. I'm honest with what my brother's been through. I'm honest with what their choices can lead to. Because for me, I just feel like being honest and me opening up is going to get them to open up.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, I don't go to homes, but I do have a lot of kids come up to me, and I'll share a story real quick. I'll share the story.
Yeah.
probably the first time I went and I spoke at a school, I'll never forget. I was done. Everybody's filing out of the auditorium. And I noticed that there's this girl. She's sitting in her seat. She's not moving.
Right.
I can tell she's nervous. She's contemplating something. I'm packing my stuff up, about to leave. And all of a sudden, she pops out of her chair. She walks down the aisle of the auditorium and she says, "Excuse me, Mr. Daddario, can I talk to you for a sec?" So I pull her aside and I said, "Yeah, what's going on?" And she looks at me and she goes, "It's my boyfriend. She goes, I couldn't stop thinking about my boyfriend after you talked about your brother. He's making the same choices that your brother was. He's drinking. He's smoking. He's messing around with drugs." And she said, his father, not too long ago, he died from a drug overdose. And she said, "Look, I don't know what to do. What should I do?"
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "Well, you just did what you were supposed to, right? You spoke up and you asked for help for him." And she goes, "Well, I have another secret." And I go, "What's that?" And she rolls her sleeve up like this.
Oh.
And she has got cuts all the way down her arm. And she goes, "I'm a cutter, Mr. Daddario. See, I don't like the way I look. I don't think I'm smart. So to deal with what I go through, I cut myself." And then I looked at her and I said, "Let's get some help for you and your boyfriend." So we walked down the guidance counselor's office. She talked to her counselor about what her and her boyfriend were going through. And she was able to get help. So I run into that stuff all the time. All the time.
And that brings me to the question. Yes, that's sort of a specific, but are there any other strategies, any other techniques that you'd use to recognize that, hey, that youth is struggling?
I always say this. I'll first say that when you think somebody's going through something, when you have a feeling they are, just that gut feeling in here, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times they are. A lot of times they're going through something. So for me, what I do now is in my inner circle with my friends, with my brothers, with people I work with, I feel like something's wrong. I feel like something's going on. I approach them. All right. I just feel like that gut feeling. And then if they're not going through something, it just shows that you care, right? But now, all right, but some of the things that are signs that maybe someone's struggling is, first off, maybe they are talkative and now they're not talkative, right? Maybe they love to play an instrument, they love a sport, or they're really into something. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just lose interest. They're disinterested, right? It could be that they're sleeping a lot. It could be that they're not eating. It could be that they're losing a lot of weight. It could be that they're just emotional all of the time. There are so many signs out there for so many different things. But like I always go back to, and I always say, if I get a feeling someone's going through something, that intuition, and I know them, I'm going to do something about it. And as I said, if I'm wrong, well, then I'm wrong. It just shows that I care about that person, that I want to help them. There's nothing wrong with that. I always say, I'd rather take action and be wrong than not take action and have something happen.
Yeah. Eric, I had worked in the school system as Dean of Discipline, and many youths would come to me and say, "Sir, this is happening at the home. This is happening in the community. This is happening," as you had said, between that child and her boyfriend, or that boy and his girlfriend, and it's a challenge. Many of them have been drugged at parties and so on. A lot of things happening, raped and so on. But my question to you: how can you tell? Yeah, you can tell that they're struggling, but why are they struggling? Why do you think these youths are having these challenges?
And again, it's a great question. There's so many reasons. A few reasons. Number one is they're going through something, right? They're going through something in their life. It can be a body image thing. So for females, it can be, I don't like the way I look, right? I want to be skinnier. I want to look a different way. And maybe when they look in the mirror, they don't like the way they look.
Mm-hmm.
And so to deal with that, they start using drugs, they start drinking, they start cutting themselves because it makes them feel better. Another reason can be they want to be a part of a certain group of friends.
Yeah.
There's this group that they want to be with, that they want to be in this clique. They want to be accepted, but they're not accepted by these kids.
Yeah.
And so that really hurts them. And to deal with those emotions, those feelings, they make these unhealthy choices, right? That can be for girls or boys.
Yeah.
Another thing could be maybe their home life they're having a hard home life. Something's going on with their parents. Something's going on with their mother. Or let's say their parents are getting a divorce and they don't know how to deal with what they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they resort to making these unhealthy choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that, those three examples right there I just said, they're really struggling through something. And the key thing here is they don't know how to deal with it in a healthy way. Because let's get serious. We all go through struggles, as I talked about. I struggled with my eye.
Yeah.
I struggled with school and being in special ed and being made fun of. But I was able to deal with it in a healthy way. So I think that's the big thing is we're all going to struggle. Youth are going to struggle. But how do they deal with it?
Yeah.
Right? What are they going to do to actually get through it? Because if they're making these unhealthy choices, they're not getting through it. They're making it worse.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of things out there too. There's plenty of reasons, as I said, why kids are struggling. Maybe that they don't feel the acceptance of their parents. They're not getting the grades their parents want them to get, right? There's a lot. We could be here, as you know, all day.
I know, right?
We could be here all day if we were to list the reasons, all of the reasons why kids are struggling.
I know, the social media and so on. But look, I am a psychologist. I had a client perhaps about 2 years ago. She's about 16. And you spoke about, the child doesn't like how he or she looks. My client, she didn't like how she looks. And I tell you this, Eric, that girl is beautiful. That girl look well, right? And she doesn't like it. She doesn't like that beauty that she has. And what she told me, I remember, is that her best friend, looks better because of her best friend here and so on. They're from two different races, right? So apparently she figured out, my best friend looks better. And that's what she wants to be like.
Comparing yourself. Well, let me just throw this in real quick too. Again, we could be here all day, but you talk about that, social media, right? That's a big one. You look at these girls, you look at these guys on social media posting these pictures, these videos. They have this great life. They look so great. But there are these filters that the kids are putting on the pictures to make them look better. And when I look at that, maybe I say, I want to look like that. I don't want to look how I look. And they just get so upset. And they say, I don't look good. She looks good. I don't look good. He looks good. I want to look like that. And they don't look like that. And that just gets them so upset and just so sad.
Yeah. This is Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Dr. Canute White. That is what we call social comparison with some of these youth. And look, if you are working on your dissertation, let Kitchum assist you with that. Call 954-374-9893 or go to the website www.kitchum.com. That's www.kitrume.com. Talking to Eric. Eric, what motivates you to help youth? What's going on there?
This is a very easy question. The thing that motivates me is I am never going to forget, Dr. White. I will never forget.
Yeah.
When the doctors came in my brother's hospital room and looked me dead in the eye, and they said, you're going to have to say goodbye to your brother because there's nothing else we can do. And I remember that feeling of just being so hopeless, so helpless. Like if I could, I would have given my right arm. I would have given both of my arms to just help help him, like for him not to die.
Yeah.
And so what motivates me, one of the big things is remembering the feeling I had in that moment and helping others not to have to go through what my brother went through, but also helping those parents, helping the brothers, the sisters, the friends, the cousins of that person who's struggling to not have to go through that also. Because that feeling was just, I will never forget that day. I will never forget that feeling. To just help those youth
Yeah.
not to have to feel like that anymore.
Yeah. And again, condolence from Canute Exploration, from me personally, right? How long was that? How long ago did your brother die?
6 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. You know, and I love how you respond to that death by helping others. That is critical, and it shows your unselfishness, and you know it's really really important. It speaks to who you are as an individual, and I appreciate that. Thanks for that. But how do they overcome youth, right? How do they overcome the fear of asking for help? You talk about that before.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, for me, I honestly believe if we can help youth to overcome this fear, if we can teach them, which I'll talk about the 3 things about asking for help in a sec, what they are, but I believe we can decrease the amount of suicides, the amount of cutters, the amount of substance misuse by so much,
Yeah.
because every single one of them know that there's, let me take that back. Not every single one of them.
Okay.
A lot of them, most of them, they know they're struggling, but they just don't know how to ask for help. They just don't know who to approach. They just don't know what to say. Right? And so they can get over this fear by first destigmatizing that it is a weakness for men. Because men just feel like if I talk about my emotions, if I talk about what I'm going through, if I talk about how I'm feeling, that's a weakness. And me being a man, pounding my chest, I'm supposed to be strong, right? I'm supposed to be tough. I can't be weak. But we need to flip the script on that. And we need to understand that this is a strength. Because letting the guard down, becoming vulnerable, asking for help, that's the first step that you take to start healing and then dealing with what you're going through. But it's not easy to do. Because if it was easy to do, then everybody would be doing it.
Right.
So we need to understand it's hard and it's a strength. So it's important that men and women realize that this is a strength and that there are other people out there. Another thing that youth will tell me is, well, I just feel like I'm going to get in trouble. I feel like they will judge me. I feel like I'm going to get reprimanded, looked at differently. And that's them, right? It's important. Like the youth say that, and that's what they're thinking. But they need to realize and understand that they have people in their life, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a coach, whether it's their parents, or if they don't have their parents in their life, whoever they live with. Or it can be an administrator, a counselor. But they have people around them, a lot of people around them. And if they don't approach them,
but Eric,
do one thing: help them.
Yeah, but guess what happened? Parents, coaches, teachers, etc. They're not reinforcing this thing to the youth, saying, "Hey, we are here. We are here to be helped," and that is being proactive. Okay, if anything, have confidence in us. That is not happening, is it?
No. Well, let me say this, because I don't only speak to youth. I feel like I need to not only hit the youth, but them as a missing piece if I just talk to them. I also talk to parents, right?
Okay.
And I talk to parents about how to become a trusted adult. Because again, if you have a son or daughter and they can trust you to have this conversation when they're struggling, well then that, instead of making those unhealthy choices, that lets them go and talk to you. So for parents, it's important that they understand their child's world.
Yeah.
Because even me, not that long ago, I was in high school. 15 years ago, I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago, but it's much different. High school is much different
Yeah.
than when I was in high school. There are a lot of different stressors. It's just a much different world nowadays. They didn't have Snapchat. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have Instagram. It was just a much different world. So it's important that parents try to get the world that their kids are living in. Because if you get your son or daughter's world at some level, and you don't just say, oh, why are you doing that, right? Like, that's foolish. Like, what? Then that's going to gain a little trust. But also, letting your son or daughter, letting them talk to you, letting them vent, and not trying to tell them what to do. Just because you're looked at, you think you're the authority figure. A lot of parents think, well, I'm here, and my kids are here. I'm the authority figure. So what I say goes. They need to listen to me. But that's what's getting the kids not to trust their parents, is having that attitude. So they need to bring themselves from here down to here at the same level as their kids. And they need to see eye to eye, and they need to let them talk to them. And when they talk, we have two eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So we need to not say anything and let them talk to us and let them vent and reassure them that you are going through a hard time. What can I do to help you? Instead of saying, like so many parents, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Right? So yeah, it's just parents, the teachers, they have a huge role in this. A huge role.
And you know, I'm from a society back in Jamaica where the matrifocal single parent home, that's mothers are there, right? It's very prevalent back in Jamaica. And I realize there's a prevalence here in the United States as well. But my thing is that female, the girl child, right? Female children, they're more vulnerable because in my mind, Eric, the fathers are not there in most households, and the mothers with these girls, and sometimes there's this sort of struggle between mothers and daughters somehow, right? And I tell you this, you can comment on it, right? That's why I'm saying it to you. There, while at a particular school working, there's a girl that hates her mother so much. Why she hates her mother? Her mother actually took away her boyfriend, right? That girl was about 17, 18, ready to graduate, and her mother, quote unquote, steal her boyfriend. And there was a struggle in the home, and there was no father figure in the home. Talk to me. Right? That is a challenge, and it tells us that youths are having challenge in the single parent home. What are you seeing in your talk as it relates to things like that?
Single parents?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, as you said, daughters, sons don't have a father figure, right? I mean, that relationship that you have when you're a daughter with your father, it's so important. It's so special, right? So they don't have that figure in their life. And when I talk at schools, people will come up to me, and men, boys, girls, and they'll say, you know, my father, he's in jail.
Yeah.
He's not around. And it's just been me and my mother, and we struggle. And so in that case, resentment, right? They have resentment towards them. And then when they get out of jail, or when they come back in their life for whatever reason they weren't, they're like, whoa. I'm not just letting you back in my life. I don't even want to see you right now, right? Because of what they put them through because they weren't in their life. And it's because they're just like, you just think I'm going to let you back in my life? That easy? No. Like right now, I don't even want to talk to you. I can't believe you put us through this, right?
Yeah.
And so they put this wall up, and they don't let them in their life because it's like, look what you did to me and your wife, you know, me and mom, what we went through. How could you let this happen? And so that relationship, it's broken. And sometimes it gets mended, and sometimes the father comes back into the life. But it's really hard for these youth to let someone in their life back like that. to trust them. Because a
Right.
lot of youth, they have trust issues, right? How
Yeah.
can I trust you when you already left me? If you come back into my life, are you just going to leave again and then try to come back? So,
And and that's the point I was trying to make, Eric. That the situation with that girl and her mother and the girl's boyfriend, that eroded the trust. And you're right. There's a level of trust issue that is causing these sort of struggles that some of these youths are going through.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So that's a real impact, and I'm happy that you're working with these youths, and you give me a lot of insights here because a lot of these youths are going through challenges because of those trust issues. There's no one to talk to, especially if there's only the mother in the home, and daddy is not there
yeah,
to
yeah.
resolve things.
Well,
But
because just
go ahead.
think about this for a sec, right? Maybe
Yeah,
if dad was there, you would feel more comfortable approaching dad instead of mom when you were struggling, but dad wasn't there. So you didn't know who to turn to because you don't want to go to mom, right? So, they could be in a better place maybe if their father was there.
yeah,
Because I know for me, it's funny, my relationship with my mother, I'm not going to say I'm much closer to her, but if
yeah,
I was going through something, I'd probably talk to my mom because we have that relationship. So it would probably be the same if a girl was going through something, she has that,
yeah,
that daddy-daughter relationship, she
yeah,
would approach them because she
yeah,
know her dad wouldn't maybe come down as hard on her,
yeah, yeah.
right?
What would
So
be your advice, though? You know, you talk about that, but what would you tell a group of students who, well, in effect, you know that there might be a prevalence of single parent home homes, right?
yeah.
What would you say to these youths, right, as it relates to single parent living condition and having a struggle and who to go to?
Yeah. I would say that whether it's whether it's the mother, whether it's the father they live with, that, they're doing the best that they can because I know just one parent, it can be hard, right? I mean, one income isn't as good as two incomes,
Right.
right? So they may struggle, but just letting them know that, look, they're doing the best that they can and they love you and that they're here for you, that they want to support you. They want to help you if you're going through something, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of what they have on their plate, no matter how many jobs they're working, no matter how much stress they're under. When you come to them and you let them know you're going through something, that parent loves you so much, they'll drop everything else
Yeah, yeah,
and they will want to help you. So don't think that there's never a good time, because I hear that, right? When I talk to maybe somebody who lives in a single family home, well, it's not a good time right now. My mom's going through a lot. She's on her own. She's trying to make this work. She's trying to make that work. She's going through this. My mom isn't around. So, but this, your health is the most important thing to your parents.
yeah, yeah,
If they knew what you were going through, that would really kill them inside more than anything. So I just get these kids to realize that parent is there for them, to support them, to help them, to guide them through whatever they're going through. And that is the most important thing, is their kid, their son, their daughter. And to not hesitate, to not be afraid to talk to them.
yeah, yeah.
Because, I think that, well, not I think, this is my theory. This is my theory that I've come up with.
Right.
My brother would get yelled at when my parents would find him smoking, would find out he was drinking, he was using drugs. And they did that. I believe parents act that way because in here, they're nervous. They're concerned. They're afraid of what these choices can lead to. I don't even think they're really mad at them. But they don't know how else to act right then and there. Like, I see my son smoking, I freak out because, oh my God, what could this lead to?
Yeah.
What could happen? So they're so afraid, they're so nervous, and this is the only way they know how to act. They may not even be mad at them.
Yeah.
But like, this is how they deal with it. This is how they react to it, because they don't know any other way, because they don't know what to do, because maybe they've never been through this, right? So they're afraid, they're nervous, they're concerned. That's just my whole theory on why parents may act this way.
You're right. The concern factor is critical. This is Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. I am Dr. Canute White speaking to Eric. Eric, this first step, what's the first step getting help when a youth is struggling? Talk to these youth. What should I do first?
So, number one, first step, we already really talked about it. We were just touching on it. You got to approach a trusted adult, an adult you can trust. Now, it's important you understand that having this conversation with that adult, there's going to be some nerves. There's going to be some concern. There's going to be some fright, some emotion with this conversation. So just understand it's never going to be completely not having any fear, not having any concern. It's always going to be there. But find an adult you can trust. And as we talked about, me and Dr. White, it can be a parent. If you have your parents in your life or you trust them. But that conversation can be a little bit more nerve-wracking than approaching somebody else. So if you don't feel like you can trust them, okay. Do you have a coach in your life? Do you have a teacher in your life? Do you have a counselor, an administrator? Do you have a friend's parent? Do you have an aunt, an uncle? There are so many adults out there in your life that you can approach. But who's the adult you trust to have this conversation? That's the biggest thing, is an adult you can trust. Now, here's a little tip. To make the conversation a little easier when you approach this adult, because remember, it's never going to be having no fear or having no concern or fright. Can you find a brother, a sister, a friend, a teammate, a classmate to be by your side when you have this conversation, to ask for help? Because when you have someone by your side supporting you in anything in life, it makes the conversation a little easier. It takes some of that weight, some of that pressure you're carrying away. So that's the first step, approaching an adult you can trust. And remember, it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be a teacher. It can be a friend's parent. It can be a coach. It can be an administrator, a counselor. But just find out, number one, who's the person I'm going to approach.
Right.
So that's that first step.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, when you go into the school, Eric, what do you do? How do you help these students? What approach do you take?
Yeah. So for me, I have different things I do, and it's all dependent on what the school, what the organization, what the team wants. One of the things I do is I go up and I'll talk to the whole school. I'll talk to the whole team, all the youth in the organization. And I have different topics I talk on. One of them is what I just talked about, asking for help. How can you ask for help? What are the steps to take? Breaking down the stigmas of asking for help, such as it's not a weakness, it's a strength. Another one of my talks is deciding to live the life you want, seeing how the choices you make now will affect you later. And then another one is making healthy choices in those struggling, those tough, those stressful moments. But I talk to the whole audience on that. Another thing I do is when I go into the schools, or when I talk with athletes or in organizations, they'll give me about 20 to 30 of the youth that they feel would best fit this. And we really have a breakout session, an intimate conversation. So it's not as many people. It's more tailored to that group and the questions that they may have on asking for help, on the decisions they make, on how to make healthy decisions in those tough moments. I give them access to be able to email me. I always want them to have access. Yeah. Right now, I'm in the process of writing a book that I'll be able to give to the students, to the athletes, to the youth at the organization I'm talking about on asking for help, on healthy decision making. So I've started to really, I haven't written anything, but I'm in the process right now of thinking of how I'm going to navigate that. Okay. And then I'm eventually down the line making a course course on, all right, if I'm in this moment, how do I make a healthy decision? How do I ask for help? So that, because in doing these things and making these courses and writing these books, they'll be able to take it home with them and they can read it over and over and over. They can watch the course and learn over and over and over.
So will this be free, or you'd want to?
No.
Right.
No,
okay.
I when I go in and I talk at schools and organizations, I charge because it's just like it's just like a teacher getting paid,
right.
a counselor getting paid. So this is how I have income.
Yeah, and I understand that. You know, we as professional presenters, we get paid. But those books, I think that's a good idea. That you will, after your presentation, you will, you know, allow them to have the resources. But do you ask for donations? Do you think with your ministry, because you're doing a good thing, do you think that you would need donation to further your ministry, not necessarily for you, but to further your ministry?
You know, it's funny you say that because I haven't, but I've really been thinking about a way of how to do it. So yes, it's been in my mind that if I can get some money donated, how to do that and how it can help me to further this process, to make it more impactful for these kids. So no, yes, that's definitely been something that I've been actually started thinking about this week. It's funny you mentioned that. So yes,
I think you should consider it further and try to get some sort of a donation. And my audience, those who are listening on their favorite podcast platform, those who are watching, you will see in the description a link to get to Eric and get to him now. Donate something. It's a good mission that he has going, and it's very important that he gets help to further his mission, not necessarily for him, but to get the logistics going in order to ensure that it's the continuity of the mission. I have one last question for you, Eric, and what should we do as adults, as parents, as coaches, teachers, to basically help a friend or loved one, not necessarily the youth that we teach or counsel, what should we do to help that loved one, our friend who's struggling?
And that's a great question. And this is something that I didn't do, right? So I guess this is another reason. I know at the beginning there's a lot of reasons, but another reason why I talk to youth about this stuff is because I knew my brother was struggling. So you're asking me a question that I was actually in. I knew he was struggling.
Yeah.
And I was so concerned. I was so afraid. I was so nervous of the judgments people would have on me if I said something. So I didn't say anything. And that is the big I ever made in my life, not saying anything. So I would say to you, if you know a friend, if you have a brother, a sister, a classmate, a teammate, whoever that person is that is struggling, don't stay silent. Say something to somebody. Yeah. Approach an adult. Voice your concern for them. But before that, approach that person. Let them know that you're there for them, that you care about them, that you want to help them in whatever you can. Because that's what friends, that's what brothers, that's what sisters, teammates do. They are there for each other, supporting, helping, guiding each other through these tough moments that we're going to go through in life.
Yeah.
So don't do what I did. Don't make that same mistake of being silent, of not saying anything to that person struggling, of not saying anything to an adult around them that could help them. Be there for them and help them. And I would just say, I'll leave you with this, is I know that there's a lot of fear, a lot of nerves and concern of doing this because, as I said, I was that kid who didn't say anything, who didn't approach an adult and voice my concern for my brother. And they may, to be honest, they may be upset if you do this at the beginning.
Yeah.
But when they start healing from what they're going through and getting better, they are going to be happy you did it. See, you are not telling on them, but you're speaking up for them. And so it's important you understand there's a difference between telling on somebody and speaking up for somebody. You're not telling on them, but you're speaking up for them.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Eric, I love the talk. I appreciate what you're doing, and on behalf of everyone who will benefit from your ministry, thanks. You're doing well, and it's important that we talk to the youth. Important that we let them understand that it's okay not to be okay, and you can talk with somebody. That's very much okay. Thanks for coming on Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. Thank you, Eric.
Well, Dr. White, I just want to say thank you for this conversation. Whenever I have these types of conversations, my head starts spinning. So now I got a few things, right? I got to
Right.
get going on those, right? Those donations. I got a few things that I'm thinking about now. So thank you. And thank
You're
you for
welcome.
allowing me to come on this podcast and talk, have
Thank
this
you.
conversation.
Hope to have you again. Bye-bye.
All right.
So that was Eric. You heard him. He has a lot to say, and we could go on and on. I hope to have him another time. And the fact that he's working with youth, very, very important. We often say that they are the future leaders, so we have to prepare them for a better society later on, sustainable development. But he said something about, hey, you're not telling on them, you're basically speaking out for them. You're trying to get some assistance for them. So it's not that you're being offensive, but maybe not defensive either, but trying to help them, and that is important. So if you know somebody struggling, be it your loved one, your friends, a youth down the road, talk to somebody about it. As we say in psychology, there's a thing called limited confidentiality. If it means that the person is going to kill his or herself or kill someone, right, then we have to speak out. We have to break that confidentiality. So break that confidentiality if you have to, because the person is struggling. Thanks for listening to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Dr. Canute White. See you next.